Hi everyone, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show for our third day of Transformer reviews. Today, we are going to be playing a game of which is better. We're going to be taking a look at two Shockwave figures. One comes from the War for Cybertron Siege line, and the other comes from the 40th anniversary comic special edition figures of Transformers.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Like I said, welcome to a Which is Better, where we are looking at the Leader Class Siege version of Shockwave over here, and the new 40th anniversary comic book version of Shockwave. And the first thing we're talking about is the paint and overall appearance of Shockwave. Now, I will say, the Siege Shockwave currently has a bunch of extra armor bits on him, which kind of enhance this vehicle mode. I'll pull them off real quick. I did forget to fold out the wings here, so there are wings at the end of these armaments that I did forget to pull out, but I'm going to pull off his extra armor because I want to look at them just kind of bare bones. There we go. And one thing that I will be pointing out in just a moment is the hose placement on Shockwave, because on the comic one you can see that I have the hose here plugged into the tower of the spaceship, where on the Siege one this actually doesn't really connect all that well. It pops right out. So I did have it plugged into a piece of the armor, and that seemed to work a little better. But yeah, it definitely works better on the comic one. But in terms of just the paint and overall appearance, you know, this one has some like comic book cell shading to it. You can see that up here on this part of the spaceship, and it is totally not a blaster. In fact, if I were to put these wings in and flip this over and put down this landing gear, this is 100%. It's not any kind of blaster weapon. Same with the Siege one. You know, same thing. If I put this down and put down this landing gear, this is not a blaster weapon of any kind. I don't care what your mind is telling you. Stop saying that. But you know, the comic one, it has this cell shading on it, which doesn't look bad, but I don't feel like it translates well in vehicle mode. But I'm not the type of person who looks at my Transformers in vehicle mode, so I'm going to take both of these Shockwaves into robot mode so we can maybe get a better comparison on their paint and overall appearance. So let's do that. And here are my Shockwave figures in their robot mode. Now, I gotta hand it to the Siege Shockwave. A lot of the Siege figures were covered in like that Siege battle damage paint. And looking at this Shockwave, he doesn't really have a lot. He got out kinda unscathed. The armor might have some. We'll look at that closely later on. But he, the figure himself just looks like a decent Shockwave. And in all of my years of collecting Transformers, we never had just a straight up G1 Shockwave like in classics or anything until this Shockwave. So I was very happy with this, and it does look pretty cool. It is that nice dark purple. The light here almost makes him look blue, but it is a very dark purple, and both the arms you can see have the Decepticon logo on them, which I think is a neat touch. In fact, I made a custom Shockwave as a stand-in until we got an official one, and that is what I did with my Shockwave. I put the logos on his arms. So I really like the dark purple on this Shockwave. There's also some good light piping, and this Cyclops eye on his head really shines through nicely. Going to our comic Shockwave, first off, the Decepticon symbol is there on his chest. You can see it, nothing on the arms. But he does have that comic cell shading. He is a lighter purple, which I think serves this figure well. It really does kind of highlight all the the different areas of paint tone on him and stuff. The light piping here is gone. It is a solid yellow eye. I do like that the hands are more pink as opposed to kind of gray on the Siege Shockwave. But really, I have to ask myself which one I like better overall. And the comic paint is a fun paint job, but I think I would rather go with the straight up purple Shockwave from the Siege line. So I'm giving my round one of paint and overall appearance to my Siege Leader Class Shockwave. My second round is about articulation, and this is going to be the fastest round probably tonight because these figures are exactly the same. They're just repaints of each other, with a couple, differences here and there, but nothing different in terms of articulation. In fact, if I were to take any one of these Shockwaves, I can show you that the head turns on a ball joint, so it does move all about, which is kind of nice. In terms of the body, we do have rotation down here at the chest. In terms of the arms, we have full rotation this way. They are going to go out. Well, there is a shoulder joint that will lift it up, but there's also a joint there. There is rotation here on a mushroom peg, and there is pretty deep, about 90-degree bend, a little more than 90 degrees on the arm, and the wrist does rotate as well. Same on the other arm. In terms of legs, they're going to kick out nice and clicky, and they're going to click back as well. They also kick out, so pretty decent. Rotation down here right above the knee, and we get nice ratchet knee joint as well, about 90 degrees. Nothing else in terms of the leg, but when we get to the foot, there's no up or down, but there is ankle rockers there. So there we go. Both of these are the same, and because of that, I can't say one is better than the other. So round two, it's just going to be a tie, but in terms of articulation, they're not bad for what they have. My third round, as always, is about the accessories that these figures come with. And for the most part, this Shockwave doesn't have any additional accessories, but he does come with one kind of build-a accessory. I don't know what to call it. It is this Optimus Prime head on a cart, on a slab. It looks neat. It is, I guess, connected to a comic story, and I'll be the first to admit that the original Transformers run of comics, I have not read every issue. I am more of an animation type guy. So this is neat. I mean, you have this victory over Prime head, I guess. It's cool. I've seen the image of Prime's disembodied head before. I don't think it necessarily adds to this figure because, like, I still have Shockwave. I I do know the Transformers team said that this head could possibly go on an Optimus figure that you might already have. While they can't tell you to take apart your action figures and customize, it is something that you might want to do, especially if you want that comic kind of Optimus head with those nice glowy yellow eyes. But these are all the accessories that my 40th anniversary comic one comes with. And with the anniversary version out of the way, it is time to look at the Siege version. And there he is. This is the Siege version. You know, when we started, you saw that I had extra armor pieces all over Shockwave's spaceship mode. That stuff also translates to this crazy, almost Gundam-looking armor. You have cannons on the feet. You have extra arms on his arms, so he becomes a four-armed monster. And you have this extra large cannon bit on his back, which just, kind of sticks other armor places. But it looks kind of neat. That is one thing you can do with this. You can also take the armor off and combine it to kind of make it look like a surfboard of weapons if you want. So I'll show you what that looks like. And it looks like this. You just kind of combine everything together. And I think I did it right. I forget. But it's Shockwave on a space surfboard, I suppose. So that's what that looks like. Now, I'll be the first to admit, these extra weapons and the armor bits that Shockwave came with seemed like just a way to bump his price up to the leader class price point at the time. I thought this would have just made for a fine Voyager figure, quite honestly, without the bits. But considering the other one just comes with a disembodied Prime head, there's a lot more that you can do with these armor bits. There's a lot more playability. So I am going to give my accessories round to this Shockwave, our Siege one, just because, like I said, there's a lot more playability with this, and you can probably do some creative armor things, the more that you want to mess around with it. The battle on this which is better is starting to get a little uglier as we hit round 4, which is about the price and availability of these figures. Now, the Siege Shockwave came out during the Siege line. It's been a number of years since we got this figure. I want to say 6 years already, if not a little more. And quite honestly, when it came out, like I said, it was a leader class, so you were looking at about $50. Now, to get the Siege Shockwave, you're looking at anywhere from $63 to $72. It kind of depends on condition and where you're looking. Again, I pull my information on for the secondary market off of Action Figure 411. The comic book Shockwave is not being marketed as a leader class figure. It is going for $40, probably because it is like a Voyager with some additional parts and special packaging. It is also available now on sites like Hasbro Pulse, as of this recording at least. So because of that, I am giving round 4 my price and overall availability to my comic Shockwave. If you don't have a Shockwave, this is probably going to be the easiest one to get into your hands right now. As always, the last round on which is better is the display compatibility round. Here's the thing, as these guys are getting ready to throw their accessories at each other. You really have to ask yourself, which one of these do you think is going to look better on your shelf? And allow me to move their accessories for just a moment. You know, when I look at the Siege Shockwave, I look at a pretty just decent looking Shockwave figure. I will say, he is a little darker than what I was maybe hoping for in a Shockwave figure, but he is going to blend in pretty well with the rest of the Decepticon army, whether it be your G1 Season 1 guys or just Decepticons in general. The new 40th anniversary comic version of Shockwave, this is kind of the shade of purple I was looking for. And I know there are other Shockwave figures out there. I know in that Nemesis or Space Bridge 3-pack, whatever it's called, there is a, I want to say lighter color Shockwave, but I wasn't going to spend $100 on that set for characters, toys I already own, and the throne that I already own. But in terms of this comic Shockwave, like, I like the purple on it, I really do, but there is all this cell shading, and if you're standing this next to some regular type of figures, I feel like he's going to stand out, and maybe not necessarily in a good way, just because of the shading and stuff. Like, this looks like it is a comic book drawing with the shading. It's not bad, but if I want kind of a uniform shelf, I'm going to be going with the Siege version of Shockwave, which means he wins round 5, and overall has taken 3 of the 5 rounds this time on Which Is Better. So maybe not all the Transformers are dead in this version of Which Is Better, but there is definitely a dead loser, which is the comic style Shockwave. Like I said, it's still a solid figure. If you want to build a comic style shelf, he's probably going to be for you. But if you are looking for a straight up, just nice robot representation, I gotta go with my Siege version of Shockwave. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you have any of these Shockwaves? Did you get that Nemesis Space Bridge set for the Shockwave? I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Anything is appreciated. And until next time, I've been Dan. You all have been pretty awesome. I'll see you around. Well, there we go. What did you think of this video? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Remember, we are making a push to get to 700 subscribers here on the channel. If we do that before the HasLab Giant Man arrives, I will be giving away the old Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure that you've seen on my shelf and things like that. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like if you're so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Come geek